It takes two. I thought one was enough. It's not true. It takes two of you. Just the two of us. It takes two.
Hello and welcome to season 2 of It Takes Two. I am producer Daphne and I will be your host for today. So It Takes Two is a Village Conservatory mentorship podcast where we pair emerging artists with more established artists and get them to pair up over the course of 4 weeks and talk about what it means to be really cool people in the arts. So today I am joined by the wonderful Sharon Bajer and Julia Kroft. Say hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hello.
Julia, now let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are as a person, and who you are as an artist.
Well, yeah, I am Julia. I am some people think I'm a good person, but no, I am a multidisciplinary artist. I act, I sing, I dance. I love musical theater on stage, but I also do marketing behind the scenes. I have 2 brothers. I love hot chocolate right now. And I love creating and I love writing. And that's been a lot of fun the last 4 weeks with Sharon.
Sharon, how about you? Who are you as a person and who are you as an artist?
Yeah, I'm an actor, playwright, director, mentor, intimacy coordinator. I've been working in theater for over 30 years. I work in film and television. And I think right now my favorite thing is mentoring Julia.
Yay. Okay, so kind of talk to me a little bit about what the last 4 weeks have been for y'all. What have you kind of been learning from each other? What's the process kind of been like for you both?
We have been meeting and I've been learning so much from Sharon about playwriting and creating and steps that go into creating a musical and kind of taking your idea and we call it fish soup, and just like your brain dump and actually taking all of the juice and all of the really good ideas and putting it into something that you can work on and work towards and have a plan for.
Yeah, because primarily it's a writing mentorship. So, we've been meeting kind of every week, and then I've been giving Julia tasks to complete in that week. The soup that we're talking about is just, sometimes you just need license to put stuff down and just not judge it. And so she's been really great about doing that. And then we're working towards creating a little bit more specific outline as we go along. But generating the material takes time, and it's only something you can do by yourself. So that's why we've been meeting like every week.
Yeah.
What has been kind of the guiding piece that you've been kind of working on during this time?
I feel like I could go on forever about it, but it's sort of an idea that came into my head a couple years ago. I am writing a musical that's based on the Jewish community in Winnipeg from like 1917, 1920s kind of time period. And it's based off of my own family history as well. And so I've had all these ideas in my head and I've just been itching to have a mentor like Sharon and have some guidance into how to take all of these amazing characters and ideas in this world that I've sort of been living in and actually make it something that I could put on a stage one day, because that's the ultimate goal. And so we've been working towards creating an outline, creating a bit more of a story arc using this like world and these characters. So we started off I explained my idea in a very long-winded way.
Not at all.
Then I dumped it out there, no judgment. I always felt very, very comfortable. And I think that's also why I felt this was really successful, is just because it gave me a lot of freedom as an artist to just put whatever out there, and yeah, no judgment, learning how to not judge myself. And from that, we were able to create a really cool story, I think, that we'll be able to put out soon-ish in the next however many years. Now, after this mentorship, I will have a very clear outline that I can then use to further progress in the process of the show.
The thing about this project, it's very, very so interesting and multi-layered and personal, and it's just got all the makings of I think a great story. And Julia came into it already having done quite a lot of thinking about it. So I feel like all I've done is helped streamline the thinking. And even though maybe an outline doesn't sound like much, you have to do a lot of work before you actually get to that outline. You have to figure out what your characters are, what your story is. Like we have to talk, we talked about themes and place and time, and you have to have all those ideas whirling around before you can sit down and figure out what the outline is. And I call the outline the spine of the fish. Mm-hmm. So we were sort of playing around with the soup of the fish, and then all those pieces eventually start to become the spine. And then once you have the spine, then you can work out from there, figuring out what's the head and what's the middle and what's the tail and the gills and what do they all do? I don't know. I kind of like this. I will go on and on about this.
Yeah, I love it. I'm loving this imagery. It's great.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah. So JK, you mentioned this has been something that's been kind of percolating in your head for a little while. What kind of drew you towards applying for like this specific opportunity? Like what kind of drew you towards wanting to take a mentorship at this time?
I feel like in my artistic practice, I'm sort of in a space where I'm trying to learn as much as I can from as many different people as I can, both in the creating and the writing, and also just as a performer, as an actor. And it kind of came at the perfect time, just because I had done 2 years with the Vic, and I trust every program that comes out of the Vic, and it has really shaped me as an artist. And I've seen Sharon's work, and I just saw Afterlight, which was a show that Sharon just worked on. It just really inspired me. And then this came out kind of shortly after I saw that. And I had been really itching to write and really trying to like get things on paper. And I've just been having a hard time just taking that next leap. And so after I saw the show and then I saw the posting for It Takes Two, I thought that this would be a really, really good time, because I have the time and I'm not super, super busy right now. And I really, really wanted to dedicate time to writing this. And I love being in the world of my show, but I'm ready to put it on paper.
Totally. That kind of ties into kind of my next question for y'all. What makes you kind of wanted to work with Sharon specifically? And then Sharon, on the flip side, why were you excited to work with Julia?
So many reasons. I had met Sharon a couple times before and did an acting coaching with Sharon. And I felt like I really absorbed everything that she was saying, and it felt really natural and it felt really comfortable. And even throughout this whole mentorship, it just has felt like a super safe space to let out all your ideas, and they all felt so well received. And what made me feel really excited, and like seeing Sharon's involvement in Afterlight and just hearing all the great things, I just love how excited she gets about projects and like really attaches herself to, I feel weird saying she because you're right here, but I just I love how passionately you attach yourself to a project, and you believing in it makes me want to believe in it more, and it makes me more excited to keep working.
Aw, that's great. This came at a perfect time for me because I've been working on Afterlight for 4 years, and I've been working on another play for about the same amount of time. Both got finished. And then when the run was done, I found myself, this is maybe the only time in my whole career where I haven't been working on a play. Mm-hmm. And that's my happy place, is just diving into a story. And so when Julia said that that's what she wanted to work on, I was like, perfect. This is perfect timing. And honestly, our meetings have been such a joyous lifeline for me. I just love creativity, and I love getting into the meat of stories. And I think I'm really available to this mentorship right now because I'm not working on anything of my own, and I'm so invested in these characters and this story right now. Also, I really am excited about doing something that has some Jewish culture and history involved, because I've been involved in the Jewish community for years because my kids are the Jewish dad. And, I've had lots of involvement with Winnipeg Jewish Theatre, and with everything going on in the world too, it's so hard to know where to put all of that feeling and energy. And so this was a perfect kind of project. Just enjoyed it. And Julia's just great. Like, if anybody comes to me with an idea and are enthusiastic about working on it, I'm there.
Amazing. So did anything kind of like surprise you both about this process?
Julia, you've not written a musical before, correct?
No,
Have you written a play before?
no.
I think what surprised me is how great Julia is at it, and the scene that she wrote, and the character descriptions, and the historical research, and the way that she articulates what she wants the story to say is really quite beyond someone who's never written anything before. So yeah, we're not starting from like super, super basics. I feel like you already have such a great understanding of musicals and understanding of story and an understanding of historical research, like all of that. I don't know. It just puts us in a place where we can really start from quite an elevated place, as opposed to just like learning, from right from the beginning. So that surprised me, because I really didn't, I knew you as a performer, but I love discovering the writer in people too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know that when JK, you originally submitted and you said you were working on something, I was so excited because I love when I get to see that people who I don't traditionally think of as creators are creating something. I think it was something great that I heard Jillian Willem say at one point, which is it's really lovely getting to know someone creatively as opposed to just seeing them perform other people's work. And so I think, yeah, it's great to see what's in your little heart of hearts and what you feel passionate about working on. But how about you? Did anything surprise you about this process?
I mean, the whole thing was a really great, giant surprise. And I did not think I was going to come out of it in such a short time with so much. And now I feel so much more confident in the tools that I have to keep going. Something that I guess surprised me is I was a little bit nervous to come in and just not know how the heck to do anything, which I guess is why you have a mentor. But also there's no right way to create, and really like defining your own process and respecting that can always change, which is something that was so welcomed in this mentorship. And just how I've learned to release what's right and what's wrong, and that this should happen, then this should happen, then this should happen, because I think that was sort of hindering me from continuing my process. And so working with somebody as established as Sharon and then being told there's actually no rules, it's just like, it's really fun and really cool. And it surprised me how empowering that was.
Great. That's so good to hear. Yeah, I mean, there are rules, but then there are no rules.
Mm-hmm. But also what surprised me is that there's a lot of hidden things in a structure of a musical that I just sort of take for granted, or things that maybe I naturally kind of think about without realizing, like cool juxtapositions that we've discovered, or like you would have this type of scene and then typically this type of scene. There's loose structure ideas that a lot of musicals follow, and there are recipes, but there's a bunch of different recipes that make for a good musical.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Has there been any kind of specific source of inspiration for you as you've been kind of crafting the piece that you're working on? I'm always just like very curious whenever I hear anyone's working on anything. I like to know what they're doing for research, if there's anything they're modeling after, however consciously. Like, I know that for me, I found inspiration in wonderfully weird and wacky places, and I love hearing from other people about what those sources have been for them.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I was going through some stuff in my parents' basement, and I found my high school project that I did called the Roots Project, which was basically a family tree project that I did in high school about my own family tree. And it was in a time a couple years ago where I was feeling a little bit disconnected to my Jewish identity and my identity as a performer. And it kind of came at the perfect time because I was reading my really great writing as a 12-year-old and learning these things that I totally did at the last minute and just did not respect as much in that time. But then reading it, I was like, oh, I actually have very cool family history. And I found out that my great-grandmother was one of the first matrons of the Jewish orphanage of Western Canada. And she met my great-grandfather there with his 2 boys, and they fell in love and they had more kids and happily ever after. And I just found it so interesting about the orphanage. So I started doing so much research. I found a thesis online from somebody who wrote it, who's actually local to Winnipeg. Her name is Sharon Graham. And I had the opportunity to meet with her and ask her some questions about the orphanage. And she actually had access to records of the people who actually lived there and like their files. And so I got to really get to know the people in the world, which made a recipe for really great characters and gave me so much inspiration to start writing. But the inspiration was really just me wanting to feel more connected as a Jewish performer and making my own opportunity and writing something that was meaningful to me, but also something that could be of value to the rest of the world too, beyond the Jewish community, because a lot of Jewish values are just values that like of community and of kindness and of education and preparing the next generation. And this orphanage was I think, a major foundation of the Winnipeg Jewish community and how it's so unique because they really allowed the children to grow, have a Jewish education. And then that orphanage, once it closed, became what's now Jewish Child and Family Services. So it still kind of exists in some weird way today. But I just love the Winnipeg Jewish community, and I think it's so unique. And writing something really close to home is inspiring to me.
Yeah, I had no idea about this this history, and it's just fascinating. And I feel like if anyone listening to this podcast has any memories or connection to that orphanage, I think that it would be great to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like Julia said, there's not a lot written about it, documented about it, and it was really fascinating. One of the most exciting things for me was that they made all the kids play instruments.
Interesting.
A, for a value that is right up my alley, and I love that. But
Yeah.
B, as a musical opportunity, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Something else that also was a huge inspiration I don't want to forget is that I was looking at all this information about my great-grandmother and I was trying to learn more and I couldn't find anything. And then in this thesis that this other woman named Sharon Graham wrote, there was all these amazing things that the women did there, but none of them were listed by name except for like one. And so I really wanted to shed light of the unspoken heroes of the people who worked of the orphanage because it was such a patriarchal institution, but the real foundation of it was a bunch of really hardworking women that just got no credit.
As is the way in history.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something I love about art too, is that it's a really great way to immortalize these moments in history that might have been lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon, I know you mentioned earlier that one of the things that you're doing a lot of nowadays is mentorship. What does kind of mentorship mean to you, especially as the more established artist in this particular equation?
Well, speaking of, going back and speaking about history, I realized that one of the things I've been thinking about is that really your knowledge of the theater starts when you start, right? So what I feel like we have right now is this sort of lack of knowledge by younger people and knowing what came before and the whether or not what came before was good or bad or worked or didn't work. Theater in Canada is fairly young, but there were pioneers, there were things that there were performers and creators in Winnipeg that people in their 20s won't even know who they are, and they're still alive and they're still around. I feel like as a mentor, I want to also help illuminate a history of what came before. For example, Manitoba Association of Playwrights. What the heck is that? And why did they start that? And I don't know if we've gotten into that too much, but some people might not know that there was a playwrights unit at PTE that was actually started like 17 years ago because we didn't know where the playwrights in Manitoba were and they had no support. And, so they actually started this means of a formalized way of supporting playwrights. People might not know who Bruce McManus is, who was like one of the first playwrights that had, published and produced work outside of the city. Or Evie Anderson, who was like the star of Rainbow Stage, like things like that. I'm always surprised when people don't know. Someone said, "Who's Jen Lyon?" the other day, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I have to do better at helping people understand what the history of what they're coming into now had a history that went before, and however that feeds it and changes what's going on in the future. I think it's helpful to know about the pioneers, know about what paved the way for these things, and whether or not we want to, whether or not your attitude is to tear down the structures that exist and rebuild those structures. You can still learn from why people created those structures and why they were the way they were and what needs to change. Anyway, we're in a period of great change, and I think that it's helpful to mentees to know why things are the way they are right now.
Yeah. It's one of the beautiful, but also one of the challenging things about theater is that it's so ephemeral, and if it isn't photographed, then we lose a piece of our history, and even that's not the perfect way to capture the spirit of a theater performance or know why a certain performer was the star that they were, because a photograph can't tell you that unless you were there.
Yeah.
JK, how about you? What does mentorship kind of mean to you?
It means a lot of things, but I think mentorship means getting the opportunity to learn from people who are way smarter than you in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways have a lot more, you just basically get to go digging for gold, and you get permission to dig for gold in a treasure chest of someone that has so much amazing experience and talent and skill. And I don't know, I just think like as an emerging performer, as a young performer, it's been my mission, I guess, even just sort of since kind of COVID times, like I was doing what I can to enhance my practice as an artist and to just learn and keep learning from so many different people in so many different ways, whether that be writing or performing or about music or about like management and marketing a show. Like, I just think that no matter where your specific skill sets lie, it is never a bad idea to learn from as many people as you can about different things that you never knew was possible. And I think just it really helps you diversify your skill set and learn about the industry as a whole and what else is out there. And so I really made it my mission in the last couple of years to be learning from as many people as possible in many different ways.
You know, when I had mentors, and I think you can collect them too. like that's what's so nice. And I feel like I always had an older woman in my life that was maybe not even a formalized mentorship, but just maybe inspiration, looking at what the different paths people took and asking questions. That's also a form of mentorship. Like, hey, why do you do all those things? How did you know you like that? Or, you know.
Yeah. JK, if you were to be a mentor to somebody, what do you think you would want to bring to that process?
Oh, I think little bits and pieces of everything I've learned from the people that I have mentored with. I think that's probably what a lot of us are like bits and pieces of what we've taken from people, which is great.
I got asked this at the end of one of my mentorships, and I was like, I can't mentor anyone. I'm but
I
a
know,
wee
that's
baby.
how I feel. I'm like, I'm not smart. No, just kidding.
It's hard because it also forces you to think of yourself as someone worth learning from,
right,
and with experience to pass on to. And it's like, haha, I tricked you into being confident by saying nice things about yourself.
I don't know if there's necessarily like a specific skill yet that I would feel comfortable in this industry of mentoring in, but
yeah,
maybe more so just like more mindset kind of things, because I feel like I've grown a lot as a young artist and giving myself permission to fail and to just like have more grace for yourself. So if somebody were to come up to me and say, like, I'm writing this thing, or I want to perform at this or whatever, I think just maybe my mentorship would be of a more motivating, encouraging place and helping people to take away their self-judgment. And I'm not perfect by any means at that, and I'm still learning, but I feel like I've been given really good tools in my toolbox to be able to spread that around.
I also love what you said. We're all kind of like a wonderful puzzle piece mashed up of all the people that we've learned from. And like, I was like talking with a bunch of other people the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this from this person. I got this from this person. But eventually I will stop being able to trace back all the things that I've learned to their individual sources, and they'll just become a part of who I am as an artist. And then I get to pass that along to other people, and it's a wonderful, wonderful family tree of knowledge that we get to spread to future generations.
Stealing is celebrated.
Yes. Yay, stealing.
What you learn from teaching or coaching or being a mentor or is things that you realize that you know things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it wasn't until I started doing this that I was like, oh yeah, I actually know some things. Or my particular mashup of what I've learned, I pass on in from the perspective of all that mashed up thing. So, so maybe I'm making some stuff up, but it's informed by all the stuff that came before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of one thing you think you're going to take with you from this process into your future as an artist or into your artistic practice?
Well, definitely this amazing outline that I have now for this project specifically. It sets me up for success to be able to continue this process and believe in my show and my visions. So that will take me at least some years. But I think overall, giving myself freedom to create my own artistic practice, to always listen to other people, even if they're younger than me, because it goes a long way when somebody believes in you and believes in your vision. Yeah, I'll take away everything. It's been amazing so far.
It doesn't feel long enough. It feels like it's just
No.
it just feels like the beginning of it somehow.
Yeah, I'm taking everything with me. I'm just stealing from Sharon.
Steal away.
How about you, Sharon? Are you taking anything from this process with you?
Yeah, I think it's important to meet regularly and check in. What I liked about this one is, it was short, but meeting once a week was really good because it always felt like, oh my gosh, it's right around the corner all the time. There's like a little deadline pressure.
Yeah.
Which was good for this particular mentorship because of the writing. Mm-hmm. And then, so each session felt very productive and then moved to the next session. I've done other ones that have been longer and we met less times. I feel like the structure of this one was better. So that's what I think mentoring for maybe a shorter period of time, that's more focused and has more immediate deadlines. I know that's how I like to write. I like to enter into the piece and stay in it and then and just do it.
JK, where do you kind of want the piece to go in the future? Like, what's kind of like the dream final form? Or I guess nothing's ever final, but where are you hoping the piece is going to go in the future?
I'd love to see it on a stage with actual people performing it and in front of a bigger audience, like locally and then beyond, hopefully. I'm really excited about where the story's headed. I think it has a lot of heart, and I think there's something for everyone to take out of it.
So what's kind of coming up next for both of you? Sharon, I'll let you go first.
I have a play coming up at PTE called The Outside In that I wrote with Elio Zerillo. Yeah, we did it a year ago in Nova Scotia. And then before that, I'm taking Clue. I just did Clue at MTC, and we're doing a run of it in London, Ontario. That's in March. And then I'm just inspired by our meetings, Julia, and trying to figure out what I'm going to be writing next. And because I'm really trying to push Afterlight. I've just been working, applying it to different, putting all my energies into trying to get that out into the world.
JK, how about you? What's coming up next for you?
Well, I'm feeling very motivated after this mentorship to dive in and keep going. So I'm going to be applying for some grants to keep going and maybe be able to bring some people in and get the process going, or just to start writing. Because I think once I have my outline, that sort of Sharon and I discussed that sort of the next thing is now it's writing time, and you're actually going to be sitting alone with yourself and writing out the words, and I want to dedicate time to that. And then I have some stuff coming up next year, which is exciting, and I just went on my own as a freelance marketing consultant, so I'm building up my client base a little bit, and I'm excited with the work I'm going to be doing with the Village Conservatory. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, all I can really speak on right now.
If people want to learn more about either of you, where can they check you out?
SharonBajer.com or thekeeptheater.com.
Yeah. You can check me out on Instagram at Julia Kroft. Yeah, you can send me a message. We can just chat.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you folks wanted to kind of talk about mentorship, about this process? Anything I might have missed?
Thanks to the Village Conservatory for making it happen. That's the other piece, is that sometimes it takes a group of people to have a vision about a program and then make that happen. So thank you for making it happen.
It's true. Thank you so much. It truly takes a village.
That's like our slogan and everything. All right. Well, thanks, y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And JK, do you have a title yet for your piece?
I do not. That's
okay.
But coming up.
That's the hardest part.
Coming soonish, maybe.
Great. Then just keep an eye out for Untitled musical about Jewish history in Winnipeg coming 2025.
Yes, but I love chatting about it and picking brains, so I'm all up for creative conversations.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for being a part of this process, and take care.
It takes two.
Thank you so much for joining us for Season 2 of It Takes Two. This season is generously supported by the Thomas Sill Foundation and the Canada Council for the Arts. This season is produced and edited by Daphne Finlayson. Original music for the show is provided by Paul DeGers, with apologies to Stephen Sondheim for shamelessly airlifting part of It Takes Two from Into the Woods. If you'd like to learn more about this or any other podcasts in the Village Conservatory family, you can check out our website, villageconservatory.com, or follow us on social media at Village Conservatory.